stopping binge eating a matter of engaging more willpower? I used to really think that it was. I really did. When I had, if you don't know my story, I had binge eating disorder for many, many, many years. And I really, every time I binged, I would think, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be more disciplined, I'm going to have more control, I'm going to engage more willpower, and that is going to be the answer. And I very much felt like I was a binge eater. It was sort of like a character trait, a personality trait, and for the rest of my life, I would have to be trying to counteract that in some way, which was incredibly demoralizing, and as it turns out, deeply unhelpful, actually. So as always, I just want to share my experience in regards to this question with you guys today. And I think it was absolutely true that in order for me to create a positive and peaceful relationship with food, yes, I built up the skills of delaying gratification, of self-regulation, of self-efficacy, of reflection and problem-solving skills. Yes, absolutely. Was it the whole story? No. And also this image that I had years ago when I was trying to rely on willpower to overcome my binge eating was that the willpower very much seemed to me, I would picture it as I've got to sort of white knuckle resist the urge to binge. And actually, in the ways that I do now employ more willpower, for lack of a better term, it doesn't feel like that. It's more that I've built up coping skills and self-regulation skills and practiced them. And so now this sense of having more willpower feels more like a sense of peaceful power or healthy control. That doesn't take an endless amount of effort and energy, if you see what I mean, but I'm getting slightly ahead of myself. Yes, that was a big part of me personally developing a healthy relationship with food and stopping binge eating, definitely. But the other really important aspect of it, and I'm oversimplifying here massively, like overarching, was I had to understand where my urge to binge or to restrict or to engage in any of these unhelpful eating behaviors was coming from, and to work on that and manage that directly. And this is where, for me, this idea of, oh, binge eating is just a lack of willpower really, really did a lot of damage in essence, because it kept me stuck, because that idea implies that my binge eating wasn't really being caused by anything other than a lack of willpower, and that, as it turns out, was really, really not true. And so focusing just on trying to employ more willpower meant that I wasn't even asking the question or exploring or reflecting on, why do I have this urge to binge? Why do I have this urge to restrict? Why do I have this urge to eat, a big bar of Cadbury's even though I'm already full and I've had dinner? What's going on there? And the answer to that, for me personally, and it's still sometimes it surprises me because I'm still doing more reflection and more exploration on it, just how nuanced and perhaps more complex my relationship with food appeared to be to me on the surface. So when I was looking at my relationship with food just as what I was eating and when I was eating, it was kind of easy or simple to just assume, well, if I'm not eating in a very positive way or a very helpful way, then it must just be because I like food too much and I don't have enough willpower. And actually, my relationship with food, it turns out, was more complex than that, actually quite significantly more complex than that. All of the emotions and needs and values and coping strategies that was tied up in it. And I didn't consider myself an emotional eater at all. All of this I was completely unaware of, that was relaying into how I was eating, why I was choosing the foods that I was, why I was neglecting myself with food, why I was punishing myself with food, why all of these things. And so when I actually started to explore that, it made very good sense to me why just trying to employ willpower to stop binge eating hadn't actually worked. On occasion it would work. On the odd occasion, okay, I successfully white-knuckled avoiding a binge, but that was such a temporary solution, as it were, because my urge to binge or to restrict or emotionally eat, what was driving that, behind that, wasn't being addressed in any way. So through a combination of figuring that out, what was behind the drive to want to binge eat, which I've made quite a few videos on by now, but I'll keep them coming. Exploring my emotional world, exploring my needs, exploring my values, all of that stuff which we've spoken about in other videos, doing all of that work and self-reflection. That really helped for me to start to understand and validate my binge eating to myself, absolutely, and show me the areas that I would need to work on in order to reduce the urge, as it were, the coping mechanism. But then, yes, on the other side of that, there was all of the other skills building that I did. Learning how to delay gratification, yes, problem solving skills, yes, self-efficacy, feeling confident to make decisions in the moment. All of these things then absolutely did have to be built up over time. And that's the key, over time. And these things are skills. Willpower and all that encompasses is a combination of many skills, self-regulating skills, and it's okay for that to take time. It did take time for me, and I'm saddened by my past self, as it were, her thinking that she could do all of this overnight and have this amazing willpower and self-regulation instantly overnight, because in reality it's taken me a decent amount of time to feel like I am autonomous and have my own power when it comes to my relationship with food. And I don't say that to discourage you about how long it takes, absolutely not, because it continuously improved as time went by for me personally. But I just say it so that we can have maybe a little bit more compassion if we feel like we're struggling with willpower and self-regulation. So the answer to the question, for me to stop binge eating, did I simply gain more willpower? Is that what actually worked? No, it wasn't for me personally. Not at all, really. And even in the sense that I have developed more self-regulation and choice for myself and power for myself in the moment, it's not that I'm able to white knuckle resist unhelpful urges. It's just that I've built up skills over time that make it easier for me to make helpful decisions for myself in the moment. And that's a skill that I certainly wasn't perfect at from day one. And that's okay. Skills take practice. But with practice, then they become easier. But I think I'd like to save talking about that self-efficacy, building self-efficacy, the ability to make decisions, helpful decisions in the moment that align with long-term goals, in another video, because I think that is an incredibly important topic when it comes to how I healed my relationship with food. Okay, that's all from me today. I just wanted to touch on that question because I think it is a really, really important one. So I hope that you found it helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now, lovelies.